Our community depends on a healthy environment to not only sustain the local ecosystem, but to build a thriving economy. It's why over the past several months, we've brought you stories focused on topics ranging from water quality to wildlife, and how all these environmental issues ultimately help or hurt everything from housing prices to jobs in Southwest Florida. It's part of Fox 4's mission to help ensure our paradise is protected for generations to come.
And thank you for joining us this evening for the Fox 4 in Your Corner Protecting Paradise Special. I'm Patrick Nolan, along with meteorologist Cindy Pressler.
Well, 4 in Your Corner is committed to keeping you informed on environmental issues that impact you and your family.
Now, during tonight's special, we want to tell you stories about water quality, about wildlife, and the challenges that are happening right in your backyard.
We also want to highlight those who are doing their part to protect the paradise that we all call home.
Now, water is everywhere here in Southwest Florida. It's one of our most beautiful and precious resources.
But look a little closer. There is something floating in the air that we cannot even see. It is coming from our clothes.
I just want to say one word to you. Just one word.
Yes, sir.
Are you listening?
Yes, I am.
Plastics.
Exactly how do you mean?
There's a great future in plastics. Think about it. Will you think about it?
Yes, I will.
That was the scene from 1967's The Graduate. And Mr. McGuire was right. Plastics have taken over the world, and unfortunately, our environment is paying the price. They are everywhere and seem to be in everything. But wait, there's more that we can't even see. Much smaller pieces called micro and nanoplastics. They can be as thin as a single human hair. Those are called microfibers.
We have more and more evidence that there's a microfiber I found in the water you drink. And then they can get into you, meaning incorporated into your cells itself. If it's very, very small, they can be absorbed by your guts. And they can carry disease eventually, or other pollutant, because they actually act as magnets for other things that will attach to them.
Dr. Thomas works with the new water school at Florida Gulf Coast University. He says microfiber concentration levels are highest right here in the U.S. when compared to other countries. And if it's in our drinking water, that means it's also in everything else we drink, including beer and soda. And this is how microfibers get into our waterways. Every time we do a load of laundry, up to 700,000 tiny microfibers of plastic could be shed from our clothes. By comparison, that's about the size of this pack of gum. Can you imagine putting that much plastic into the waterways every time we do just one load of laundry? Nowadays, most new fabrics are made out of plastic. It's lightweight, warm, and inexpensive. And who doesn't love fleece? And all that beautiful exercise clothes we live in. It's stretchy and comfortable, but it's made out of polyester or acrylic, and that is plastic.
Like, this is really nice. And
Brittany Rubalowski is the manager of Thoughtful Threads in Naples. She says it's time to go back to natural fiber clothing.
we have one planet, and we really need to be aware of how we're treating it, and we, believe it or not, we can make a difference.
But that requires a huge commitment, and if you don't want to give up a large part of your wardrobe, there are still a few easy things you can do to help the environment. I compiled a list from several sources on the web. Number 1, wash your clothes at lower temperatures. It's not as harsh on the fabrics and less likely to shed fibers. Number 2, put your clothes in a special filter bag before you wash. One brand is called a guppy bag. Number 3, make sure you have a full load in the washer. That produces less friction between the clothes. Number 4, reduce spin speeds if possible. Not as much shaking equals not as much shedding. Number 5, hang dry your clothes. Hey, it saves money too. Number 6, use a front-loading washer. Tests show that top loaders release 7 times more fiber. Number 7, buy fewer polyester garments. Choose natural fibers like cotton and hemp. Number 8, keep your clothes longer. Well, that's obvious. First washings shed more plastic, and again, this is a money saver.
We have to understand that when we put a pollutant out there in nature, it very often comes back as a boomerang into our face.
Every action has a reaction. We can see that vividly right here in Southwest Florida with the blue-green algae problem. Taking care of this planet, this paradise that we all live and work in, has got to be a top priority for everyone, not just a few. I'm meteorologist Cindy Pressler, Fox 4, Protecting Paradise. This picture is making waves on social media and has many people promising to be more careful. It looks like a skimmer is feeding its chick food, but it turns out to be a cigarette butt. Skimmers are actually a protected seabird. They are quickly losing their habitat due to beach erosion and coastal development. The results of a cleanup mission in the Pacific Ocean. You have to see to believe. Fox 4's Tiana Jenkins is showing you the eye-opening picture from Pacific Garbage Patch.
Environmentalists have removed more than 40 tons of plastic from the Pacific Ocean. Yeah, that's right, 40 tons. That's the same weight as 6 fully grown elephants. The group Ocean Voyages Institute said they clean up debris in the Great Pacific Garbage Patch. The patch between Hawaii and California is the biggest concentration of floating debris in the world. NOAA says garbage patches are formed by rotating ocean currents called gyres, which pull objects into one location. This picture shows fishing gear called ghost nets. They're massive nets of nylon or polypropylene that drift and accumulate plastic debris. One weighed 5 tons and another weighed 8 tons. The group used satellite and drone technology to find and remove pieces of trash, but it took a long time to do it. 25 days. The crew removed things like detergent bottles, plastic furniture, and children's toys. But the nearly month-long mission barely made a dent. It's estimated that almost 1.5 million to over 2.5 million tons of plastic enter the ocean each year. And all that puts marine animals at risk, whether they get caught in it or they ingest it.
Thank you, Tiana. The push to protect our paradise is not only important for our well-being, but also for our wallets. Listen to this. Some national realty experts say buying a house in Cape Coral is not the best idea in their view, and they're blaming the 2018 algae crisis.
Back in May, Fox 4's Terrace Miles spoke with a pair of Cape Coral realtors to explain how concerned you should be.
So you want to buy a house in 2019. After Southwest Florida went through an algae crisis in 2018. So if you read Realtor.com's latest posts, they're saying housing costs in the Cape are down because of the algae crisis. And that brings the median list price to $300,000. And they're saying it's a 3% drop from last year. But what are the realtors saying?
There has been some concern from buyers, particularly over the winter months because it was still really fresh in everybody's mind.
So I talked to two of them, Kathy McKinnon and Delene Odell. They say it's a national trend, but also say April was a good month locally.
This April, last month, was the highest sales month for an April in the last 6 years.
In Southwest Florida, in April, home sales were good.
Although both the realtors say the concerns are there from buyers. They both say the buyers see the algae crisis as something that's being taken care of.
I have not had any that have said that they wouldn't buy because of that.
But I think there's a lot of money going in right now into solving this problem, and they don't see this as something that's going to be long-term.
Reporting in Cape Coral, I'm Terrace Miles, Fox 4, and Your Corner.
Now, 4 in Your Corner did reach out to Kathy and Delene again for an update on the June numbers. We're still waiting to hear back. And once we get that information, we will post an update to this story for you on our website, fox4now.com.
People who make their living off the water, from bait shops to waterfront restaurants in our area, have lost a lot of money as a result of red tide. Back in February, we told you how a former crabber reinvented himself after his business took a hit. Eddie Barnhill Jr. went from bringing in about 60,000 stone crabs to 800 in just 1 year. He says red tide wiped out the crabs in the area, all the crabs, so he got into the ice business, providing bagged ice through delivery.
3 generations of my family's grown up out on the water here in the seafood industry. So we really got to fight and help do what we can.
Eddie's sister still owns their family business, Barnhill Seafood Market in Matlacha.
So many people in Southwest Florida depend on water quality for their livelihood. And with so much on the line, researchers are looking for ways to solve the toxic algae blooms, even if it means using a virus to get it done. Can you imagine? Florida Gulf Coast University researchers are looking into the phage virus. Now, phage means to eat, P-H-A-G-E, and it can either kill or maybe even live inside the bacteria. A research team has been spending the summer collecting blue-green algae samples and then screening them, and they're checking to see if they have phage that will infect and then grow in that microcystis. That's that toxic form of blue-green algae.
Blue-green algae is a bacteria, and one of the things that we've studied in our lab are viruses that can infect bacteria. So we saw this as an opportunity to apply what we already knew about other viruses to tackle this new water problem.
Now, if they do end up killing the local strains, the viruses could be used to treat local algae blooms eventually. We want to show you just how devastating the red tide outbreak has been, especially for wildlife, from fish littering our beaches to dead dolphins, manatees, even turtles.
These images may be hard to look at. They are a reminder of why it is important to push for solutions.
Take, for example, the fish kills. They're so devastating because the fish are obviously a source of food for other animals, but also for you and me. Dolphins, well, they prey mainly on old and sick fish, helping fight infectious diseases among fish populations. Manatees are an endangered species, remember that, so they eat a lot of seagrass, which maintains all those seagrass beds. And nearly all sea turtles are either threatened or endangered. The turtles play an important role in maintaining those seagrass beds and coral reefs as well. Our Protecting Paradise special continues with invasive species and the ways people just like you are getting involved to get rid of them.
Yes, we play soccer. Yes, we're female athletes, but we're so much more than that.
USA Champions, the story of the Women's World Cup in their own words, Tuesday on Fox.
To help protect our paradise, Florida Fish and Wildlife is encouraging you to help in the fight against an invasive species. You might not know it because you see them everywhere, but iguanas are not native to Florida and they can cause a lot of harm to our ecosystem.
We asked around to find out the best way to get rid of an iguana. And the bottom line is, use a professional. Experts say iguanas are dangerous and they can even bite your finger off. To find out more information about FWC's plan, visit our website, fox4now.com, and click on this story.
A major milestone in the push to eliminate another invasive species here in Florida. We're talking about these Burmese pythons in the Everglades. Python hunters Beth and Peggy captured the 500th snake back in June. The female snake weighed in at 20 pounds, 14 ounces, measured over 9 feet long. By the way, Fish and Wildlife pays members of the Python Action Team, they call it, to survey for and capture these reptiles. Officials explain that the snakes can eliminate native animals in the Everglades by eating their food sources or eating the animals themselves.
Nobody wants to look at trash, and people are nasty. So somebody's got to pick it up.
We want to show you an example of the community coming together to help protect our paradise. On Independence Day, people were out enjoying fireworks and beaches, and celebrations left behind a lot of trash and debris. So on the 5th of July, Keep Lee County Beautiful held their annual cleanup event. More than 100 people showed up at their Fort Myers Beach location. They also had cleanups at Bunch Beach and Sanibel Causeway. The organization is also hosting a coastal cleanup in September. For In Your Corner, we'll continue our Protecting Paradise special with hockey sticks, how they are playing a role in keeping our waters clean.
And we want to leave you right now with a look at some of this awesome video from the Skyfox drone hovering over Fort Myers Beach.
Fox 4's Protecting Paradise special will be right back after the break.
Would you believe?
A well-known fertility doctor used his own sperm to father countless children.
I stacked the deck.
You did terrible harm.
My mom was a patient of your father's.
Let's find out if I share a special bond with a stranger.
Keep reaching.
How's our father doing? I'm just dying to get to know him. People want answers. I want answers.
If they take me down, it'll destroy you too.
How many others do you think there are? Dozens more?
Almost Family, coming this fall to Fox.
Thank you so much for sticking with us this evening for our Four in Your Corner Protecting Paradise special. I'm Patrick Nolan.
And I'm Cindy Pressler. If you have ever seen a hockey game, then you know the sticks can take a beating, sometimes even breaking, right? So what happens to them after that?
Well, you might be surprised to know some of them are being used to grow oysters that are cleaning our local waters. And tonight I'm showing you how they go from being in the rink to being a reef. One pile at a time, FGCU students Samantha and Tatiana measure them, mark them, and drop them as these hockey sticks get closer to becoming an oyster's best friend. This is actually an artificial reef?
Yeah.
Another student, Brandon, tells me this was not an instant hit.
Because everyone would kind of question it at first. Hockey sticks and oyster reefs, like, that doesn't make sense.
But it did to these guys. Before they became national champs, FGCU's hockey club came up with another winning game plan, turning broken hockey sticks into mini reefs.
Yeah, so we'll cut up small pieces here.
Professor Mike Parsons walks us through the process here at the school's Marine Lab in Bonita Springs, where oysters actually get students excited.
You're always finding something new.
Despite their Dullsville exterior.
They seem so small and so kind of...
ugly?
Yeah, like, that's the thing is they're not cute, they're not fun, they kind of sit there, but I think that's the biggest thing is they're so important.
Oysters are, they're filter feeders, so they'll clean the water. They filter out particles, they eat plankton.
And what are we talking about in here? Another student, Jessica, explains oysters can also suck up something Southwest Florida is sick of, algae.
It's all to help the environment and the local waters here.
There's no doubt when you look at the outside of oysters, you see all the scuzz that they clean out of the water. But if you look at the inside, and this is an example, you see what it can do to the water. It's pure, it's light, it's smooth, it's clean. It's believed a single oyster can clean up to about 50 gallons a day, but Dr. Parsons says it might be even possible for that number to be as high as 100 gallons a day. The mini reefs expand that cleaning power by design, as explained by Bob Wasno, who's got the dual role of researcher here at the Marine Station and assistant coach of the hockey team that came up with the idea of the mini reefs.
What really makes them practical is the amount of area, the space, because of the Lincoln log configuration and the spacers in between, offers a lot of oysters, a lot of area to grow.
If you have 100 oysters on a unit times 100, you're looking at 10,000 gallons of water a day per unit.
Even when oysters are dead, and trust me, these are Deadsville, they still are givers. Once you put them back in the water, even in this state, they still provide a surface or substrate to allow other things to grow on them, like barnacles, and they're cleaning the water too. The students pulled up one of the reefs.
Careful.
To show you just how much life.
It has some live oysters on there, barnacles, and mud crabs.
Broken hockey sticks.
I found seahorses on here.
Can support.
Oh, look, a little fish.
Oh, there's a little goby right here.
Even mini versions of these mini reefs, mini-minis, if you will, rock. It's so tiny.
I know, it's one of the miniature ones we have here, so.
But even something this small, right, can bring on a lot of life. Life Samantha knows these waters need. She is not an out-of-state student.
And it's just nice to come here and being able to help out the water quality in Southwest Florida, because I was born and raised here, so I've seen it deteriorate.
These waterways can get cleaned up. It can get a lot better, but the only way it's gonna get better is having people care.
For now, they're pouring everything they can into showing they care, and they're determined to stick to it. In Bonita Springs, Patrick Nolan, Fox 4, in your corner. Now, the local team, the Everblades, the NHL, and a company that makes hockey sticks are among those now providing these sticks to this program, which is called Rink to Reef, and that is Rink and then the number 2, Reef.
And if you'd like a reef installed in your own canal, or if you want to volunteer with the program, just click on Patrick's story on fox4now.com.
After last year's devastating season of red tide algae blooms and blue-green algae blooms, a lot of locals in the fishing industry have been working to replenish some of the fish that were lost.
The Florida Fishery Foundation is working to bring back fish populations by breeding redfish. They plan to build a fish hatchery on the Pine Island Road and hope to produce 10,000 fish in their first year. They eventually want that number to reach the hundreds of thousands and plan to get there by teaching others how to build hatcheries of their own. It will cost about $250,000 to build the first hatchery. We have seen several efforts to replenish fish populations into our water. Thousands of redfish and snook were released over the past few months. Several agencies, including Fish and Wildlife and Mote Marine, coordinated the releases. Researchers put microchips in the snook so they can track them in the water.
Some encouraging news for sea turtles in Southwest Florida. The number of nests and hatchlings on Collier County beaches are up. Environmentalists say there are over 200 more nests just so far this year and more than 30 additional hatchlings compared to last year. Remember, sea turtles are protected. It is illegal to disturb their nests. And if you live on the beach, you want to make sure you turn off your lights. Hatchlings can become disoriented as they make their way into the water. It's a slow go for them.
While things are looking better for sea turtles, we cannot say the same for manatees. More and more of them are being struck and killed by boaters. Overall, the number of manatee deaths have stayed the same. However, Fish and Wildlife has seen an increase in boating-related manatee deaths. You can help by keeping an eye out for manatees and obeying the speed limit. Southwest Florida has several projections in place for our wildlife.
Few more than last year. Earlier this year, Cape Coral City Council announced an ordinance for burrowing owls. Now, this is going to create some regulations for burrowing owl protection zones. It gives penalties to people who mess with them if you're a violator, creates more rules to keep the owls safe. Now, the state did designate the burrowing owl as a threatened species in 2017, and they do play an important role in our ecosystem because they often occupy abandoned burrows of mice and squirrels, so they keep their populations under control.
Gopher tortoises are also on the list of protected species in Cape Coral.
This was a recent development too. Cape Coral City Council members approved an ordinance that's going to give these tortoises the same protections as burrowing owls in the city. Gopher tortoises are already protected under state law, but this ordinance will allow local officials to enforce the state restrictions, the state protections essentially. Gopher tortoises are especially important because they dig those burrows, and that provides homes for other animals, and they're just cute. And we want to leave you as we take a break here with some more video of Manatee Park in Lee County. Again, this was recorded by our Sky Fox drone. Fox 4's Protecting Paradise special is going to be right back right after this break. We want to thank you for joining us tonight for this Four in Your Corner Protecting Paradise special.
If you want to re-watch any of the stories in this special or just want to learn more information about protecting our paradise, this project and this mission, you can go to fox4now.com and click on our Protecting Paradise tab. You can also subscribe to our Protecting Paradise newsletter. Just go to our website and click on the newsletter section and enter your email. You will receive the latest news focusing on the environmental issues in our area.
And if you have any story ideas you'd like to share with us, you can give us a call, send us an email, or maybe a Facebook message. The information is on your screen. We hope you have a great night. For Cindy Pressler, I'm Patrick Nolan. Fox 4 News at 10 is next.